In the Bible, there are warnings about witchcraft and divination, which God strongly condemns. One story tells about King Saul seeking guidance from the witch of Endor, though it was against God's command. The encounter remains a mystery. Was it truly Samuel's spirit? Many things to say about witchcraft, divination, and circumcision in the Bible. These practices are counterfeit versions of holy spirituality created by Satan. The Bible strongly condemns all forms of witchcraft. In the past, people sought supernatural experiences which God did not like. The nations around the Promised Land were filled with these practices, and God warned his people not to get involved with them. Deuteronomy 18 verses 9 to 12 states that when Israelites entered the land that God had given them, they must not imitate the abominable ways of other nations. God saw it as abominable when people sacrificed their children, practiced divination, cast spells, and communicated with the dead. The penalty for practicing witchcraft was death. Witchcraft seeks power, knowledge, and spirituality apart from God, which is like idolatry. This is Satan's way of diverting people's hearts from serving the true God. Satan imitates God's miracles through demonic power, and at the heart of witchcraft is the desire to know the future and control things that belong only to God. Instead of seeking strength from other sources, we must seek our God, the true source of all true strength. Witchcraft promises spirituality but leads only to emptiness and death. The story of the witch of Endor raises a significant question: was it really Samuel who spoke to Saul, or was it a demonic spirit? As we have already said, the Bible strongly opposes witchcraft, psychic counseling, and other similar methods. Surprisingly, the Bible contains cases of sorcerers and witches, and today we will recount the encounter with the witch of Endor, especially in 1 Samuel chapter 28, verses 3 to 25. In this chapter we witness the tragic events surrounding King Saul's rule over Israel. Saul was the first king of Israel. He was the son of Kish, from the Matriot family, and a member of the tribe of Benjamin. Samuel called for a gathering of all Israel in the Mitzpeh, and reminded the people how God brought them out of Egypt and saved them from their enemies. Despite all that God had done for them, the people rejected him and demanded a king. After that, Samuel chose Saul as king by drawing lots, but Saul was meek. He was taller head and shoulders than any other king in the land at the time of his anointing by Samuel the prophet. In the book of Deuteronomy 18 verses 9 to 12. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. When the Israelites entered the land that God had given them, they were not allowed to imitate the abominable ways of other nations. The penalty for practicing witchcraft was death. Before turning the witch, Saul initially asked God for guidance, but God did not answer him through dreams, lights, or prophets. God rejected Saul because of his rebellious heart. Samuel passed away recently and left a void in Saul's life as he was the one who anointed Saul and served as his advisor. Feeling desperate and knowing that Samuel was a true prophet of God, Saul decided to consult his spirit to hear from God through him. The witch of Endor was visited by Saul after the death of Samuel. Although Saul had earlier banished all the sorcerers and magicians from his kingdom, his concern about Israel's battle with the Philistines led him to seek the services of someone with a familiar spirit. Despite his need for guidance for his people, Saul found that no avenues to communicate with God were open to him. So, he took matters into his own hands and went to the witch of Endor. He asked her to summon the spirit of Samuel the prophet to predict his future. The woman, aware of the law against witchcraft, expressed concern, but Saul assured her that she would be protected, even swearing by God that she would not be punished for it. 1 Samuel 28 verse 10. Saul swore to her by the Lord, "As surely as the Lord lives, you will not be punished for this." Saul, who saw Samuel's spirit, expected Samuel to help him. However, a surprise awaits him. Samuel reacts harshly and imperceptibly. He resents Saul for disturbing his rest, slaps him mercilessly and scolds him. It turns out that even in the world of the dead they are still angry with Saul. Among other things, Saul hears from Samuel that his tragic fate that will befall him is against his grave guilt. Saul did not do as required, and God rewarded him accordingly. Samuel ends with the terrible news about the expected disaster tomorrow, death for Saul and his sons and defeat for the camp of Israel. Saul felt very sad and fasted, but he still went to fight the Philistines. In the battle on Mount Gilboa, the Philistines chased Israel, and they killed Saul's 3 sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. When Saul saw that the Philistine archers were coming to capture him, he asked his helper to stab him with a sword. But the helper was scared and unsure. So, Saul put his sword in the ground and fell on it. This was the end of Saul. He didn't want the enemy to catch him and make fun of him. He chose to end his own life. This chapter of the Bible divides scholars into 2 schools of thought. One believes it was indeed Samuel's spirit called by the witch, while the other claims it was an evil spirit impersonating Samuel. However, the Bible does not provide a definitive answer, and we do not know for sure whether it was really Samuel or not. What we do know is that Saul disobeyed God by consulting the dead, which God forbids. The encounter with the witch of Endor remains a mysterious and debated topic in biblical scholarship, with differing interpretations whether it was really Samuel's spirit or a demonic impersonation. Regardless of the point of view, the story serves as a cautionary tale against seeking guidance from means and engaging in practices forbidden by God. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. You can share with us what you know by leaving a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. Thank you so much and see you next time.